Hey YouTube, gonna make a video about small engines. This is I believe 10 horsepower leaf vacuum. Yeah, I think it's 10 horsepower. It's a Briggs and Stratton model. Most small engines are gonna look just like this. I have the gas tank ripped off because it was rusted to pieces, but the issues we were having is we weren't getting fuel, and there is no spark, so pretty much everything. So we've got a fuel line here that ran right through here and connected down here to the on-off switch. So the line into the on-off switch had to be cleaned out. The bowl down here had to be cleaned out, and then the line that ran through here into the carburetor to actually get fuel into the carburetor also, oh Jesus, it smells like gas, also needed cleaned. I had the float out, everything, cleaned it all out as best I could. Tried to clean the little needle that sits in there on the float as well. Make sure you don't lose anything. Most of the bolts on this thing are either 8 or 10 millimeter, or a couple Phillips head screws if you have to go that far, but I didn't have to take anything other than those and a spark plug. For this one, a spark plug socket, which is a 16 mil. Yeah, 16 millimeter, 5/8, something like that. So I got a new spark plug in here. I think it matches. It's the one that goes in my Xterra. This is the one that came in it. I tried to clean the contacts. I'm going to use this one for testing though. So yeah, once I got the carb all cleaned up, took it all apart, brake clean, blah de blah. I tried to run it and I was getting fuel into the carburetor, but I wasn't getting spark at that point. So I tested this switch. I just put my voltmeter on this end and then the other end on this connector, just with a continuity tester, and it buzzed in the on position. So this is a good ground circuit, and this is how the engine shuts off. You have a coil here, magneto, whatever you want to call it. It sits in here up against the edge of the flywheel, and as it passes the magnet, it induces a current into this, which gives you your spark. Every time it spins around, you get a spark. Whenever you don't want the machine to be on, you flip this to off, and this should connect you to ground or disconnect. I'm not sure which way it works, but either way, that's how the switch there works. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in. I'm going to use a couple business cards to gap it because I don't have the gapping tool when I put this back on, and then I'll shove it in there, tighten it down, pull the cards out, and you know, reconnect everything, and we'll give it a shot and see what happens. So I'll pull it back when we're there. Alright guys, so I got the air box connector back on. I've got the coil back on. We just sanded, I used a scouring pad, but all the surfaces, including the engine portion where the bolt connects to, and especially that face. I did the flywheel yesterday. You just don't want anything sticking up on the flywheel itself. So I'm going to put the cap back on and the pull start, and then we'll give this thing a fire up, see if she's good. But we do have spark now. I tested it. I put my drill on that nut in there. I believe it was a 21 mil, and I just spun it with a spark plug out in my hand, connected to that wire there, and I got spark. So we should be good. We have fuel, we have spark, we have air, so that should be it for combustion. So I'm gonna put the faceplate on, and yeah, should run. Alright, so I ended up having to take the carburetor back off because I didn't clean it thoroughly enough the first 2 times I took it apart. But now I think it is cleaned appropriately. I tested it every step of the way to find out what was going on. So the first thing that was going on was this is the bulb off of it, and the fuel container off here. This line was clogged coming in. You disassemble that with these 2 Phillips head screws, and then this plunger comes out in a spring washer. And then inside of there you can clean that hole out with some brake clean, and this hole right here runs into the carburetor, or the bulb, and comes down in this line, and then there's a little needle that sits inside of here on top of the bulb. I'll show you when I go inside to reassemble, but that needs cleaned out really good, that whole channel all the way across there, as well as these two holes on the side for this model, and some of the other ones. The screw is actually the part that does the jetting, and then inside of there there's a little jet. So for the rest of this I was able to use a paper clip. For this I actually had to use a sewing needle. I didn't get all the way through, but I got through enough to break apart the problem, what I believe to be the problem, and I sprayed some brake clean in there to get that all loosened up. So with all that loose, and then you do want to lubricate this so it moves very freely, and you want this to be able to move. It should have two positions really where it kind of clicks for the choke. With that all done up, and this cleaned as best as you can, and I had to make a cork gasket for this because we didn't want to order the one and wait for it. That should be it for the carburetor end of things. So I'm going to take this back inside for reassembly. Alright, so here is the float, the needle with the spring. Get it to focus. There's a little spring on the bottom of that guy. It keeps it in place. And then this pin. So you're going to put this in here, make sure the needle goes in the hole. Put your pin back through. You'll see there's a little hole on the side here. I like to get it started, put pressure on the spring, and then shove it through. And then you'll screw this back on, and I think it's a 10 mil, pretty sure. It's either 10 or 8. Everything on here was 10 or 8. And, oh wait, don't forget, which I almost just did, there's a gasket that goes in there. Don't forget it. I left it outside, but it goes on here to give this a nice seal. So I'm going to have to go get that and put that on after. This has a little flange on it. You can face this thing that way or that way. You want it this way so you can drain the fuel out without having to take a whole bunch off the engine. So yeah, that goes on there with this screw. You just tighten that down, and yeah, I'm gonna get that gasket and put this all back together, and she should start up. So guys, I ended up zapping that black real quick with some high temp silicone, but our end diagnosis is, well, for the whole thing we didn't have spark or fuel. The carburetor was completely clogged up in every port, all the way up to the jet. Also, we have leaking seals at this point, so what we're probably going to do, just because of the condition of this carburetor, is actually get a replacement carburetor for this. But other than that, it ran pretty good. You know, cleaned up the coil in there, and the spark plug, cleaned that up too, and everything works fine. This is the original spark plug. I opted not to use the new one because I looked at both of them and the spark looked the same. So I guess the only other thing I'd say is when you're testing the spark plug, I don't remember if I said it or not, but when you plug this extra plug in to test out to see if you have spark, when you pull the cord, you want to make sure that this is touching the metal on the threads there, and then you'll be looking for that spark going across the gap there whenever you're yanking on it. Don't remember if I said it, but if I didn't, there it is. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was helpful for your specific engine. For most small engines, this is all going to be pretty much the same. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope it helped. So guys, I don't know if you can hear me, but we got it running. New carburetor. Ended up solving the whole issue for us. So yeah, she runs strong now. New carburetor solved the whole thing. The fuel needle was broken. It was allowing gas to keep flowing into the bulb and flooding out everything. It would start up, but it wouldn't stay running. It was just getting too much fuel. So yeah, that changed that out. And then this gas tank, they were saying it was like 150 bucks for the actual one online. This is just like a Honda gas tank for some generic model pressure washer, and the bolt pattern as well as the extra bolt over here on the inside were actually the same. So for 30 bucks and 25 for the new carburetor, this thing's running great now. Started first pull. Didn't even have to mess with it. That's still the old spark plug in there. We're going to run some seafoam in through here to get the engine running in primo condition before we change out that spark plug with a brand new one. But the kit came with all kinds of stuff. Fuel filters, extra spark plugs. I think we got 3 spark plugs, extra fuel line. I mean, more than we needed for this thing. It's going to be running for a long time now with all the extra parts. So, yeah, guys, that's how you service one of these. Generally, any engine, whether it's lawnmower, whatever, anything under, like, I don't know, 18 horsepower is pretty much going to look like this. So, if you needed help, I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.